Welcome to theUpStreamLife.com. I'm your founder and editor, Vishal Krishna. I love talking consumption. I've been writing about it for 20 years, but the man next to me has built a business. He knows what he's doing, and he is funding D2C businesses. Hi, Arjun.
Hey Vishal, I'm so excited to be with you on the episode.
Thank you. What are we going to talk about?
We're going to talk about D2C, we're going to talk about e-commerce, we're going to talk about the India story, consumption in India, the nuances of the Indian consumer, and maybe a little bit about investing.
Absolutely. And there's cricket mixed into it, so you'll enjoy that. So it's the company is called V3 Ventures.
Correct.
Check out their website. And by the way, a shout out to my sponsors. They're called finverse.guru. You have to learn finance. If you're a business person, you want to make guitars, you want to sell guitars, you got to learn finance. But this podcast is going to help you. But download finverse.guru to know more about money and managing money. Thank you, Arjun.
Thank you, Vishal. Pleasure.
Thank you. Arjun, it's great to have you on theUpStreamLife.com. I've been fascinated with your journey and whatever you've done. And you've transitioned from being an operator or a businessman to becoming a fund operator. Now you're a fund manager and you're investing.
I remember our first meeting in, I think it was 2018.
Yes.
In Bangalore, when you had first interviewed me for your story. I think we met at the lobby of
Your
Taj
story.
or
I don't know. I don't remember
some
the place.
hotel.
Yes.
You had something going on. And then from there, after we sold the business, you have also hosted the one and only panel that my wife and I have ever done together. There was a fireside chat at the
Webbing Age event. And I feel really privileged. Is that the only thing that you've done?
That's the only time we have ever done a live panel in our lives.
Have you got a recording of that?
Yeah.
I must then get that. Now that's like, I'm going to save that. It's a privilege. It's a privilege to know you. You remember in 2016, 17, 18, nobody wanted to talk startups. Nobody wanted to talk D2C. Suddenly everything changed.
D2C was a mythical term that we kind of heard from the West. Right?
Yes.
Today it's mainstream and everybody's talking about it. But that time, even I wouldn't call myself D2C. I would say e-commerce first,
Yes.
online only.
Yeah, these are the narratives.
These are the terms.
Right, do you remember at the same time, a lot of the large firms would say that, oh, this is just a fad kind of thing and it'll not take off.
Yeah, there was a very, very large retailer who in 2014 or 15 said, mark my words, this e-commerce thing is a fad, it's going away. But I actually had I worked in private equity, I worked in finance. And so you'd think, how did I think about this e-commerce opportunity? But the good thing about my finance role was because I was the youngest member of the team, they were like, oh, this e-commerce thing seems to be happening in India. Why don't you take a look and see what's happening? And fortunately for me, the first company I ever evaluated was Myntra.
Yes.
I evaluated Myntra in 2013, end of 2013. When I started spending time on companies like Myntra, Jabong, Pepperfry, Bluestone, Zivame, other than the companies themselves and these amazing charismatic founders, I also started seeing the right to win, the reason to exist for e-commerce. Right? It was giving accessibility to a lot of consumers who had never got access to these products. Think about tier 2, tier 3 cities where offline retail store, branded retail was not that deeply penetrated. The aspiration was there. The money was there to spend. And in 2013 to 16, while I worked in finance, I started seeing behavior evolve, right? So when we were like, will Indians buy t-shirts online? And we were saying, okay, Indians are buying t-shirts online. Will they buy shirts online? Will they buy pants online? Will they buy shoes online? Will they buy socks online? Will they buy sunglasses online? Now it's like a sort of foregone conclusion that these things will be bought online. But it's been fascinating over the last 10 years to really see the evolution of this behavior, to see now that I actually love the convenience of buying things online. I may have a optician down the road, but just going to that optician and figuring out how to buy my wife's lenses, I'm not getting into that. I'm just going on Lenskart and in 3 clicks, I'm buying the same lenses that I bought 3 months ago and it's done. Right?
I remember there was a report out that said that India will have 6,000 brands by 2024 and it'll be $100 billion in size. But you're saying it's well past that.
I think the number is well past the 6,000, 10,000 number that we hear in narrative now, because as I told you before we started recording, I run India's largest cohort on D2C brands. My wife and I do it on the weekends, and we've had 1,250 brands take this cohort. If that's the micro market that's taken our cohort, I think it'll be well above 30,000 at least in the definition of D2C. And I think, look, COVID changed a lot of behavior. Changed a lot of consumption behavior. I like to anecdotally tell the story of my parents. My mom set up digital banking in COVID, and now when someone doesn't accept Google Pay, she's shocked, right? My dad had never shopped online, even though he was the father of an e-commerce operator. Now he's made more than 50, 70 orders on Amazon, but he's now comfortable seeing an ad on his Instagram feed, going to a D2C website and buying a product from there. And if it's not reached in time, he calls the customer care and says, hey, it's been 3 days. I'm in Bombay, you're in Bombay. How does it take so long for you to deliver to me, right? So with that behavior changing, I think a lot of customers who weren't part of the digital consumption economy have now come into this economy. There's leapfrog behavior. Like India leapfrog from desktops to mobile phones or smartphones. India's leapfrogging from unorganized retail to e-commerce or digital consumption. A lot of things.
I think we went to, the organized part of retail. We didn't go to the physical store, Arjun. You would agree, right?
So
that is the migration that's happened.
I think that a lot of us drank the Kool-Aid as well. And after COVID, we started believing everything will be online and e-commerce. And I remember LinkedIn post I put saying, I buy everything online. Who buys anything offline any longer? Look, the offline retail through GT is still the strongest retail in India. It's still where a bulk of consumption is in India. E-commerce was at 4, now it's at 6. Some people say 7%. And I think this number will get to 15, 20 over the next 3-4 years. But I think in certain categories, digital consumption has been significant.
I think I'm glad you said categories. It's the categories that have changed
travel,
online.
For example, it's massive now, digital consumption. Buying both train tickets and flight tickets, foregone conclusion, you're going to buy it online. Holidays, now people are transitioning there. Hotels, people are transitioning there. I think outside of that, in consumption categories, I think apparel, massive consumption. Electronics, massive consumption. Personal care, now at like 25-30% online penetration.
I wouldn't put that seriously. It's 30%.
And you wouldn't have believed this would happen 5 years ago, 6 years ago. So I think there's two parts to it. One is obviously the buying, but I think all research is now done online. So you may be at an offline store. And I remember myself, as I was moving to my new house, we went to a store to buy vacuum cleaner and washing machine and TV for our house, etc. All of that. And we said we wanted to see the options. But then the first thing we did, we went to the store, we saw the TV, we checked the specs, went on Flipkart, checked the price on Flipkart, checked the reviews on Flipkart, and then bought the TV. So while we may have made the purchase offline, the research is still done online. And so today, whatever you sell, whether you're B2C, B2B2C or B2B, a lot of discovery will happen online. And so you have to have some presence. You have to be on Google. You have to have a website. You have to have an Instagram page. You have to have the bare minimum so that consumers can find you, see you, and research you.
I was reading, again, LinkedIn's great resource, right? I was reading that today. In fact, I was watching Arnold's Netflix show, and in that he says, if you don't know how to sell online today, don't get into any business. So marketing is completely online, no? All these guys must figure this out.
Look, I think, again, as I said, we drank the Kool-Aid. So all sales are not online, but a lot of discovery is done online. A lot of checking what other people think, reviews are done online. A lot of research is done online. And so even though your product may be an offline consumption product, and there are a lot of products which honestly, I think we have some time with until when they will be completely consumed online. But still, the research, the checking out, the Googling, that is deep now.
Okay. Your cohort of your teaching, of course, I'm going to get into your fun, but quickly on the teaching side, you teach complete marketing of a D2C business.
Yeah, so
what are some essentials, sneak peeks into what you teach?
Vishal, look, when we were building Dr. Vaidya's, there was no one who we could ask questions like, how do you set up a e-commerce warehouse? Is my website conversion friendly or not? Is SEO worth it or not? What will influencer marketing do for my business? What's a good retention rate? How do I set up marketing automation? There's specific questions. I'm not talking about generalized gyan. I'm not talking about go from 0 to 5,000 orders a day, live my journey, see what I've built. I exited my company, sold my company. That's great. But I'm talking about the specificities of building a D2C business. So we do an 8-week program where we do these specificities. We teach everything from product, brand, website, performance marketing, marketplace strategy, how to list on Amazon, what's a good listing, distribution, customer service, warehouse operations, logistics, and then team, culture, and scale. Honestly, I think it's more experiential, real, and actionable insights. And yeah, we've been enjoying doing it. It's something we do outside of our full-time jobs.
The modern founder is a marketeer, right? They have to think marketing first. Yes, product experience, that goes without saying.
But I will say one more thing.
Yes, please.
I think in the time I set up my business and I ran a D2C brand and e-commerce business, I had a lot of margin for error because the competition was much lower. Today, there is no margin for error. So I can tell you, I did something that I got away with. I built my business on performance marketing. Brand came into Dr. Vaidya's only 3 years in. Today, that's not possible, right? Because in Ayurveda, I was the only brand. If you wanted to buy Ayurveda online, you'd come to me because while the big boys were there, they were not focusing on it, right? Today, I've had 100 Ayurveda brands D2C take my cohort. So just imagine the amount of competition in that marketplace.
And I told you an American guy coming in also who's trying to do Ayurveda.
So,
it's interesting.
If you think about it, at that time, I could take 1 year to learn how to do a digital business, e-commerce. It took me 1 year to figure out how does performance marketing work, Shopify or WooCommerce, should I list on Amazon or not, how do I scale on Amazon? Today I found that 3 months. Yes. If you don't get the basics right, D2C is now a technical business. If you don't get the basics right, you'll get eaten up.
Wow. And the technicalities, again, is not product. It's these processes.
It's the processes. It's the way to have your website set up. It's the way to have your customer experience. It's the way to have your warehousing. It's how fast you dispatch your product. It's how fast you iterate. It's how you launch your products. All of these things.
Okay. Generations. You're 31 and I'm 42. And I want to talk about how generations are consuming. So for me, buying gourmet food, complete online. Sports items, except for cricket bats, which is our favorite topic, I definitely get them curated in a physical store. But will I look at other items, buying the cricket pads and everything online? Yes, for sure. Then talk about fitness. I buy fitness plans online, right? And curated wellness programs online, right? But then how does a 31-year-old or a 21-year-old today think, and the 16-year-old? And I'm saying male and female, right? How would they be thinking? And I'm sure women will drive consumption. Biani always used to say that is women will drive consumption in this country, and that's going to change massively.
I think that I'll give you the example of my family business, right? So my dad, my brother, my mom, they all run a luxury jewelry and watch business called the House of Rose. The average order value there is 10 lakh rupees plus.
Yes, absolutely.
So of course they didn't have a digital strategy.
And I would always think that's physical. It's a watch, right? Yeah,
it's a watch. It's a piece of jewelry, right? So of course they didn't have a digital strategy. So I went into I sold the business. So my wife and I didn't have an office. So my dad gave us a conference room in his office and said, whatever work you're doing, come here, because obviously you can't sit at home any longer, right? You're used to going to an office. So I sit in that office and I started seeing that like a lot of the customers that they had were my parents' age, which is great because they had great loyalty there. But then I was like 10 years later, when those people become 65, 70 and they stop consuming as much, what happens to my brother? Who's going to inherit the business? And so we said, you have to have a digital strategy. And my dad said, look, at 10 lakhs, 20 lakhs, 50 lakhs, who is buying digitally? And so we said, let's try it. We started with Instagram Reels. And I would say now 22% of that business is digital or digitally assisted. Out of that 22%, maybe only 10-15% is swipe card online. But a lot of people set up virtual appointments, Zoom appointments, discover
that is essential.
Online,
that is essential.
Discover the piece online and then come to the store and buy it. But the discovery process online, right? So I think depending on the kind of business, if you took at cricket bats, for example, you would buy your bat through a offline channel, you'll go curated, etc., all of that. But now that you know XYZ brand makes good helmets, or XYZ brand makes good socks, or XYZ brand makes decent abdomen guard, or XYZ brand makes good grips. Like, I buy my squash racket in an offline store, and my squash racket is a purchase once in 5 years, once in 10 years, right? But I know Karakal makes good grips, so I buy my Karakal grips on Amazon. I know I'm getting the Karakal grips. I don't have to go to an offline store to get those grips. It's 300 rupees, I buy 3 grips online.
I mean, it's so interesting. In the old days, for guitar plectrums, I would go physical store, and these were curated plectrums, right? These are flex grips. You'd never get them. These are expensive. But they're available online today. Because you know the brand, just buy them online. So you said digitally assisted. That's a very important statement.
I remember when I used to... even till very recently, I didn't know these squash grips were available online. So my grip would get worn out, and then I'd have to go to the club, and then the marker would have to be there, and you have to have the grip. And then some days I'd play with a bad grip. And then I was just like, why am I not buying this online? And the same exact grip is available online. So, I think there is different levels of involvement in purchase. And with the different levels of involvement, there will be completely offline, omnichannel, hybrid, and then completely online. This is the spectrum. And you'll see a lot of it moving towards the hybrid, omnichannel spectrum.
So India is going to be crazy experimentation, right? We have all ends of the spectrum in terms of salaried income. How do you see, again, I want you to answer that quickly, the 31-year-old versus 21, 16, they probably don't need digi assistants, right? They'll just probably talk to a bot or something.
So I think my behavior is becoming more like, I don't want to call anyone.
Yeah, you don't want to call, you don't want to receive a call from anyone.
I want to chat or WhatsApp, right? My parents still want to call. Maybe your generation wants to do a
both.
hybrid.
Probably. You read it right. I mean, seriously, with some brands I want to do bot, some brands I just want to do talking.
The generation below may actually be okay talking to a bot, or may be okay to talking to an AI model as well, right? So I think I may not be okay if I'm talking to a person that I know is not real, right? Or I'm on a video call with someone that's not real. But maybe the generation below us will be able to do it, right?
You know, the EV guys have got it right. Today, I don't know if the Tatas have done it, but the brands like Ather and everything is just a WhatsApp chat.
Absolutely.
And I wanted to change my name.
I was blown. So, on my Instagram, every time someone with a blue tick follows me, I'm curious to know who they are, right? So, I had this person follow me called Kyra Onig. And so, I just checked out the profile. And the profile had some 200,000 followers. And it said, India's first virtual influencer.
And it's a bot.
It's not a real person. But brands are collaborating with this person because this idea is so novel. People are engaging with so much. Think of where the world is going now.
It's interesting. So the EV guys, I mean the Ather in particular, I can get my bills. I just have to say, can you send me an invoice today? They'll send it. I mean, and if I say I want to change my name, usually people get my second name as, it's Krishna. They call me Krishnan, unfortunately. And I asked the bot, can you change it? And it assisted me. Yeah. So it's a hybrid that I get used to.
The brands that get this seamless customer experience right are the brands that will win. Customers want something that's easy, and if it's easy and digital and simple, they will be delighted. And those experiences will be talked about. So I can tell you.
So it's those guys will sell. I mean, I'm sorry to cut you there, but it's that experience that will end up people convincing people to buy the product.
Example.
Yeah, great man.
The first time I flew Akasa, it was a average experience. The airline was very new. I would say I flew in the first month of Akasa. I just put a Instagram story saying, flew Akasa Air, these guys need to figure it out.
You just said that?
I just put that and I put a picture of the plane.
Cut and dry, that's that.
Yeah, these guys need to figure some things out or something like that. Cut to, I landed and I got a DM from Akasa Air saying, hey sir, sorry to hear about your experience. Can we have your number please? So I gave them my phone number. The head of customer relationship management called me and said, hey, we heard you had a bad experience. What went wrong? Can we offer you something? What can we do to get better? We really want to get this right. I fly Akasa all the time now. That one experience changed the way I view the airline. And I'm talking to you about this on a podcast which thousands of people will see, and that's what customer delight is.
But the young people, do they ever focus on this when they're trying to scale?
Look, I think the narrative towards Gen Z is they're very fickle-minded, they're not loyal,
promiscuous,
they keep changing, etc. All of that, right? But I think that that's not true.
Okay.
I think these customers are expecting or wanting a different experience from us. They live a different way. Look, my baby and your baby are now 11 months old.
Yes.
They will see a screen I'm trying to stop screen till age 2, but when I'm out of town, I still call my baby on video. So these people will grow up with tech. They'll grow up with these devices. They'll grow up with this sort of...
Sorry, go on. Cut that. Can you cut that, please? You said we'll start with these people grow up with tech. Just put that on silent, please. Sorry, my bad. I got excited today and I didn't put it off. The thing is that side. Come on. Sorry about this.
No.
Come. It's on silent.
It's like...
1 second. Shall we go on to?
They grow up. It's okay, it's running.
Okay, go on.
So these people will grow up with tech, they'll grow up with digital. It's like the phone is your third limb, right? And so their way of consumption, their way of behavior, their behavior of consumption is slightly different. But these consumers are fiercely loyal. If they like a brand, unlike us, they will go on social media, they'll talk about it, they'll comment on the brand's posts. I remember there's a brand with tremendous, massive brand love called Paradise. It's a brand in the semi-permanent hair color space, right? They went on Shark Tank and they negotiated hard for a deal. And they got a lot of haters saying that, hey, like you guys are very greedy, you should have accepted the first deal you got, etc. Then you know how this digital cancel culture hate spreads. All the customers of this brand stood up for the brand and started posting, what are you talking about? We love the brand. It's okay. Let them go and get the best deal. And so their loyal customers and fan base in the Gen Z ecosystem turned this negative conversation to a positive conversation to the brand and supported the brand when they needed it. Think about a brand that caters to us as consumers. We are not going and supporting the brand if they are going through some PR controversy, right? So these customers are
original.
loyal, but
they're original. It's interesting. I mean, today the jeans and the clothes that we wear and all are curated. I mean, it's so beautiful, right? I mean, everything discovered on Instagram. Do you say Instagram has become a crazy channel to operate in?
It's becoming a interesting channel because there's lots on it as well. I was speaking to a Gen Z who said, I'm off Instagram. I said, why? She said, it's too overwhelming. It's just too much overstimulation of information, right? So I think through all of this overstimulation, the average customer today sees 5,000-6,000 ads. How do you cut through the clutter and give a beautiful, unique experience is what brand you think of today.
Would you say that as we get older, they'll curate their, because then you've experienced life, so you use like the watches. And I'll say, I want to watch only watches, I want to watch only guitars or play squash rackets. Then you get curated ads. Do you think the 21-year-old today is bombarded with information and hence they're experimenting?
Yeah, they're bombarded with information. Some of them get overwhelmed. Some of them are experimenting. I think what I've seen though is this consumer is opinionated, wants to do what they want to do and likes what he or she likes, right? And so what you will see in India going forward is we're a large country. If you are in a niche, you have 10 million customers,
yes.
10 million addressable customers. You have a very small niche.
Yes.
10 million addressable customers is size of countries in Europe, right? And so what I would like to see and what I'm sure we will see is brands developing in these niches, using the power of digital to connect with tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of customers. And so you will see these like brands that you think, that's so niche, building 100 crore, 200 crore in sales because these customers are able to support, Like I'll give you an example. We don't resonate so much with Korean culture. We don't resonate so much with K-pop. We don't resonate so much with K-drama. We don't resonate so much with Korean food. But there is youth of India today, and not just small numbers. There is large amount of youth of India today who is obsessing with Korean culture. There is a brand I was speaking to who caters to Gen Zs who started sending stickers of their products in Korean. And I was like, really? They were like, yeah, customers know this, they speak this. They're crazy fans of BTS. So these subcultures, these microcultures, these niches will develop into very large business opportunities. And our generation has to keep our eyes, ears and minds open to be able to
figure out these
interact and understand. And the people from our generation who understand this are the people who will actually make it.
In the old days, right, they would say that the guy who gets the pricing right or the market segmentation right is the winner. But today, it's digital. How do you understand these microcultures?
The best way, Vishal, to understand this, and I think this is something I've adopted. I have a lot of friends who are below the age of 25. They're not mentees. They're friends. Right? So they say, sir, you're my mentor. No, I'm not your mentor. I'm not your advisor. You're my friend. We'll go out, we'll have a drink, we'll have a dinner, we'll have a conversation. It's not one-way flow of information. I'm not only giving you information. I'm taking information from you as well. As long as you have an equal relationship with these people and respect them, they will give you back the respect you need. And you can learn so much. So much. I learn. A lot of times I learn from these people who are my friends.
In terms of what? Fashion? In terms of even business?
Like, I play squash with a 19-year-old in my building.
And that must be super fit, man.
Yeah, and he was on Facebook. So I was like, dude, you're on Facebook? Like, I thought Facebook is extinct. He's like, yeah, Facebook is extinct for my generation. Only old people like you use Facebook.
He said that to you?
So I said, how come you're using Facebook? He said, I play some games on Facebook. That's why I use it. I have only 3 friends on Facebook. I don't use Facebook. Right? I have these conversations, how they consume, what fashion they consume, what food they like, what experiences they like, what kind of brands they like, what kind of communication they're looking for in brands. And it teaches me a lot.
Man, you're right about the BTS movement. My wife's a doctor, so we were doing the rounds in a small town called Kolar, which is about 60 kilometers from Bangalore. Really small, you talk about less than 400,000 population, farming, agriculture. And we were living off a farm there, and the landlord's daughter, she's studying in Kolar. She's singing Korean. I don't know how, she's not learned Korean, but she's learned that song. And she was telling me she's into this microculture. So whenever she comes in the city with her father, she ends up buying all sorts of Korean products. Stickers. I didn't know stickers were that popular.
I can tell you there's a Bangalore-based QSR company called Boba Bhai.
He said Boba Bhai?
He's doing Korean food with an Indian twist. I thought it was a pretty random idea. But when I met the founder, I spent time understanding the market. Jaljeera Boba is doing fantastic. Because this customer wants boba, they have the sort of interest in the Korean culture, but they're still Indian,
but
right?
Doesn't Jaljeera Boba work?
But if you think about it, let's take you back to...
this company is based in Koramangala, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I've had their bobas. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Back to sort of independence time, there were a lot of Chinese who settled in Calcutta, in the east. And they started making Chinese food in kadhais with our spices.
Yeah, they did.
Today,
it's all over.
Our food that we have in India that's Chinese is Indian Chinese. And there is a large chain in the US called Chinese Mirch, which is selling Indian Chinese. So that sort of blend of culture exists, right? So paneer pizza.
Yeah, nowhere.
Aloo tikki burger.
Nowhere, yeah. I mean, you were right when KFC and McDonald's came in the 90s. I remember 1996.
Rice bowl in KFC. Rice bowl in KFC.
I agree. 1996 in Pizza Hut, they had this Hawaiian pizza with pineapple and cheese, right? My dad, pineapple cheese chicken, right? My dad said, oh, you know who puts pineapple on the cheese or on the pizza and all that? And there was a big ruckus that I'd taken. It was his first time. He said, don't consume pizza. But a few years later, you know, Pizza Hut's now so customized.
Paneer tikka pizza, chicken makhani pizza.
It's all Indian.
And I think, you know, if I think about who gets it right or who will get it right, I think the Indian consumer is young. We have the largest middle class in the world. We have a burgeoning population that's aspiration to consume brands. But we are unique. Packets of chips are still at 10 rupees, even though inflation is 6% per annum.
Absolutely.
The people that get it right will understand these nuances of the Indian consumer. Parle G has not changed the packaging in 50 years.
Yeah.
If you see a Parle G pack, and I was at a Ahmedabad airport recently, I was seeing a vending machine which was completely digital, which didn't even accept cash. The branding on the side was Parle G and Parle Kiss Me. And so in this new age, 2023, that branding looked like it was from 1960. But they didn't change it because it works.
Yeah, it works.
And so the print also looks like it's from 1960, but it works.
That's one brand that's the same,
the nuance of the Indian consumer is very unique and interesting.
And I'm glad Coca-Cola didn't change thumbs up. They kept the same original thing. Then apparently it sells billion bottles.
By the way, they tried to kill it a few times and they just couldn't because that's what people love.
So Arjun, we talked about consumption. We talked about young people will take this country forward. Different markets, of course, different segments. People who understand it need to figure out these micro niches, micro cultures. By the way, people should take your course. It's on which platform again?
Growth School.
You should go, if you're a D2C founder, you should go check Arjun, and your wife teaches there too, right? How did you, when you became an investor, I mean, how do you manage it? I mean, you could have relaxed, you could have said, I could launch another brand or something, startup mode. But why do investing?
So it was actually a pretty unstructured route to investing. We sold the business, we had time on our hands, started helping founders pro bono, giving 6 to 12 hours a week.
Pro bono?
Founders pro bono. From that, realized that there's some value we can add. So we had some capital because we sold the business, started investing as an angel. I started really enjoying that. I thought, I created one Dr. Vaidya's. Can I enable another 100,000 Dr. Vaidya's with a little bit of capital and some of my knowledge? Then I said, okay, I'm doing it as an angel. I've done 100 angel investments now in the last 2.5 years. And then I said, okay, there can be a structured way to do this as well. And I got connected with the folks at Volinvest. They were doing private equity investments. They wanted to start doing venture investing. And they were looking for an ex-founder who's built and sold a consumer business who's below the age of 40.
And Volinvest is European, of course.
Volinvest is a single LP, Belgium-based fund structure. Investing in consumer for the last 25 years, backed iconic brands like Vitamin Water, Vita Coco, Oatly, Pop Chips, Tony's Chocolonely, Chewy, the largest pet marketplace in the world. In India, they've been there for about 11 years now. Big investors in Sula, Viva, Epigamia, Purple, Wakefit.
Big names.
Heads Up for
Big
Tails,
names.
Lahori Jeera Soda recently did a buyout of a Hyderabad-based IVF hospital called 49. And then so we, obviously, very big name in the consumer space, wanted to set up VC. I liked their attitude, their vibe. I spent time with them on video calls, but then they invited me to their offsite in Spain.
Did you connect with them? Somebody reach out, say, hey, Arjun, we want you.
Random connection on LinkedIn. Random connection on LinkedIn. We vibed and then spoke for the next 3-4 months. Then this was sort of summer of 2021. October, they were having their offsite in Spain. Said, come for the offsite. I went for the offsite. All the 50, 60 people who were globally in the team were there. It was a great experience. Had a great time there. And then December 21, I presented to their board and they allocated the capital. And that's how we kicked off the journey.
And the journey's been good?
It's been fantastic. Look, intellectually, it's the most stimulating thing you can do in life, right? Being a VC or being an investor, it's the most exciting time to invest in India. You get to see some of the most interesting companies. Every week, you're seeing a disruptor. It can get tiring because you're always meeting people, you're always talking, you're always having these conversations.
And you run your podcast. We'll talk about that a bit. You also have your own podcast.
Yeah. So
how do you manage?
So I think, look, the great part is the amount of disruption you're seeing. And the most exciting part for me is actually the amount of disruption you're seeing outside the top 5 cities as well. So in the Ahmedabads and Surats, Indores, Jaipurs, Jhansis, Lucknows of the world, you're seeing amazing startups being built. And I really want to support that ecosystem. It's something I feel very...
You said Lucknow, Jhansis.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. Startups from there?
Absolutely.
D2C brands from there?
D2C brands, consumer tech platforms. And the exciting thing is that they have less attrition, less cost, more time, more focus, less travel time. So I think it's great to be in this space. Consumer is a space I love, both technology and brands. That's where we invest. We've been lucky to invest in some iconic brands. Coco FM is one of them.
Yeah, lovely brand. They just raised a lot of money now.
A lot of money. We did Entry, which is a regional language-based job upskilling platform. We've done Eka Care, which is solving for sort of full-stack health using tech and digital, riding on the ABHA wave. We've done a ice cream business called Go Zero.
By the way, I'm a fan of Go Zero. Yeah. It's my go-to in the evening.
We've done a disruptive QSR business called Dil Foods, which is on the front end doing a house of brands for QSR, but on the back end, they don't own the kitchens. They tie up with the restaurant partners. So growing very rapidly. And we're doing a bunch more interesting things like this. I love the consumer space.
Okay, you love the consumer space? Tell me what. I mean, is it the people that you invest in, or is it because they've sorted the processes?
So I enjoy meeting founders. The one thing I really enjoy today is the ambition of founders. 100 crore was a mythical being when I was building my business, right? We would get scared to say the term 100 crores. Today's founders are saying 100 crores and it's like a goalpost that they're knocking down in 3 years, right? So I enjoy the enthusiasm, the zeal,
you like the swag,
the excitement.
The swag, man. I mean, tell me about it. That generation to say that 100 crores, I'll get there.
Yeah, but it's not just talk.
Yeah, it's not just talk. Yes,
it's been done. I also love just understanding the Indian consumer. And the nuance of the Indian consumer is that a lot of times, the way I consume is exactly the opposite of the way mass consumption is done in India. And so understanding the specificity, these nuances, these sort of peculiarities and investing in that world is very exciting for me. I love consumer brands. It's what I live for. Every time I'm at the airport, driving in the car, I'm just looking around me, seeing what's happening. And I think the next decade is a decade for brands. India is a brand-starved nation. Aspiration is there, and as aspiration builds, consumers will get more and more nuanced and specific in their type of consumption.
Okay, you were telling me that that specificity again. We've been saying this again. You were saying you wear the Nike shoes. You're saying if people see this see that in your podcast, right, and they'll go buy a Nike equivalent, which is the same shape,
correct,
but priced differently. It's interesting that they'll curate all the stars. They'll say, okay, what's my star wearing? That's the thought process, right?
So we were discussing this before we went on air, right? The generation today is very different from ours.
Okay.
They have complete access to information and they get information we never got. So I'm a huge Sachin fan. I never knew where Sachin dined. I never knew where he went for a holiday. I never knew what his family looked like. I never knew what he was doing before the game. I never knew how he was in the nets. I never got dressing room pictures. And we used to get these books with dressing room pictures. We'd lap them up. And we'd look at them and be like, oh, wow, I got this behind the scenes picture. Today, it's all available. On YouTube, on Instagram, on TV, on OTT, all of this information is available. So they have deeper access to the people they aspire for. They see what they're wearing. They see when they're entering the airport. They see where they're going for a holiday. And so they aspire for these things much closer than we did, right?
It's so true.
And with this aspiration...
This is great, man.
With this aspiration, I may be wearing a Nike shoe for 10,000, 12,000 rupees. There may be a celebrity they aspire for who's wearing a shoe for 1 lakh rupees. Now, I'm wearing a purple Nike Air Jordan sneaker. They may aspire for that purple Nike Air Jordan sneaker. They may not get it at the price they want. And so they may buy a brand like a Baka Bookie or a Comet or even lower a Campus or Action that gives them a similar experience, eventually in life they want to get the Nike, but they will have a sort of gateway to get there. And that's the beauty of the way brands can be built on consumer aspects.
You couldn't have said it better. I'll tell you, you spoke Sachin. In the 90s, when Sachin was becoming big, there were only 3 things that our generation would know. That the bat he
MRF.
played with was MRF. Before that, it was a Slazenger V12. And before that, it was that power bat, sponsored by Bata, of course.
Yeah.
That was it. And the Boost kind of,
Boost the secret of my energy.
Kapil was transitioning, they got in Sachin. The interesting aspect is he also liked Dire Straits, the band. That's all was what we knew. But today you know everything. The brand is what shirts are wearing.
I've seen YouTube podcasts where Virinder Sehwag is now talking about which song he hummed while him and Sachin were batting in the 2003 World Cup. That information, I remember watching that World Cup. We were never privy to such information. And so, in this generation of information, you're so close to the people that you aspire for. There are a lot of people now who are like, hey, I've not met you ever, but I feel like I know you. I know what your kid looks like. You were you moved into a new house, you had a baby, you've not met in 1.5 years.
You just read my mind, man. Absolutely. We haven't met in a year, and I said I've seen everything and I know about this.
So I think in this generation of aspiration, I remember very recently, actually, my family's in the watch business, right? So someone sent my brother a screenshot of a screenshot while they were watching Hotstar of a Bollywood actor on Coffee with Karan and the watch he was wearing, saying, I want this watch. It was a very hazy screenshot because it was while the motion
and they
was
could get that?
And they got that screenshot. They said, I want this watch. Now, I didn't even notice that. I watched that episode. I didn't even notice what watch that person was wearing. But that's the level of aspiration.
So you like entrepreneurs who know this market?
I think I like entrepreneurs who understand the nuances of Indian consumption, the Indian consumer. There are large opportunities and TAM available. But the one thing which is very easy to make as an error or do as an error in the consumer space is you start building business for yourself. Because you and your friends consume a product, you consume that product. I'm an investor in Jimmy's Cocktails. I've never had Jimmy's Cocktails in my life. It's a fantastic business, a fantastic market.
I've had them. It's amazing.
But I don't have sugar. I'm a completely sugar-free consumer. That doesn't mean I can't invest, right? And so founders will understand that there is a world outside their world of consumption and they have to go deeper.
I gifted and invested a box of Jimmy's.
And they were beautiful boxes.
Beautiful. I gifted somebody that and they said, man, lovely, man, you made my evening because I have a party over.
So I never tried the product, but I got my dad and his friends to try it on New Year. They loved it and I was like, okay, I'm investing.
It makes the job easier to make a cocktail, right? Okay. 2-3 things. You have your own podcast now. And the podcast is talking to all the founders in the community. What's the podcast called?
Direct to a Billion Consumers is my podcast. It's a podcast on D2C space. The idea was, can we share the stories of the real journeys of D2C founders and what they went through? And today we've done 35-40 episodes. So
how is that transition for you?
As a D2C founder starts, they have all of this access to information. The transition from being a founder to being a
presenter, so to speak, right? How is it like? I mean, you're investing, that's great, but you also do this on the side. How do you like that?
Look, I think it's come naturally to me. I want to share knowledge and information. I don't do it for a specific reason. If there is value I can add. When a founder comes and tells me, hey, I heard that and I acted on it and it really helped me.
Which is great, right? Great. Somebody comes up to your airport and says, hey, I saw this and it helped me and I've implemented it.
That's all. There's no other vain reason to be famous.
What's it called? The term's called paying it forward?
Paying it forward, correct.
It's interesting. So, we've talked the nice things. What can derail, consumption's not going to stop. That's just going to go. We're on a move in India. We're on a march. But what's going to stop these founders? Who will be the winning founder? Will there be, gone are the days when we see 2-3 people on the news and say, hey, that guy's a winner, this guy's a winner. No, there's going to be many, But what can go wrong?
Impatience, shortcuts, and unsustainable growth. So impatience meaning I want to get there faster than anyone has got before, which is great. That's what startups do. But a brand is not built in 6 months or 3 months. A brand is built over time. Consumer trust is built over time. So I think that. The second thing is, I think 21 was a crazy time. 22 was a crazy time. We've gone back to more reality. And so grow responsibly and grow sustainably. And I can say what all the VCs say, we're looking at bottom line, we're looking at profitability. I'm not going to say that. I'm just going to say you have to build a business that's a business, right? And so it has to be a business that will eventually make money. And so Without giving all that VC gyan, I'll just say grow responsibly and grow sustainably. And I think ego
gets to you, doesn't it?
When you start doing well, everyone comes and pats your back. And then there's a time when you're not doing so well and you're doing well again. And there are cycles. And it's a journey of cycles of ups and downs. But if ego comes in the way, it's really bad. So humility is the characteristic of the best founders I've seen.
So do you meet founders? I mean, if you give one example of a founder you met of late who really says, I'm going to build a business rather than scale, what conversations do you have with such founders?
I think, I'm seeing founders become much more mature now. They're saying we're in it for the long run. We're building this for 10, 15 years. Investors will come and they'll go. But we are here for the long run. And that's a beautiful thing to hear.
Mm-hmm.
There are also founders who say, I really like what you did, Arjun. You built a business in 5 years, you sold it. I want to do the same.
Because you remember when we did the
moment that happens, I take a U-turn. Because I didn't build a business to sell.
Yeah.
It just happened along the way.
Yeah, because you remember that platform that you and I were talking, everyone was interested in how we got to that. They're giving a number also. They said, how did you get to 100 crore, 200 crore or something, right?
I think that, look, my view on exits is build a good business. You'll get various options along the way. Some people will get this, some people won't. But just build a good business and everything will come to you eventually.
And the number of IPOs is good for the D2C side, right?
It's amazing. I think Mamaearth was a great
one,
thing
yes.
for our ecosystem.
If that inspires younger people, I think younger people today, if you start your own business, it's like your own MBA. You make mistakes and you learn. But you said the barrier to entry is very high now. I mean, because there's so much competition. So if there's a 24-year-old getting into the D2C business, would you say go work in retail, go work with a brand, then come back?
I think it was great. My experience working outside in an investing fund where I got
You were
access.
in finance, right?
I was in finance, but I was investing in consumers,
Correct.
so I basically saw a lot of it. If you can get experience working under a great founder in a chief of staff, CEO's office type role, there's nothing like it.
Yes.
We've had folks in our team who've worked in these kind of roles who have then grown to be, one was a founder, one's in the CEO's office of another firm, one's in a VC fund now. They did fantastically well. So I think this could really help. I'm a proponent of that. But if the idea is so compelling, you have to do it now, do it now.
Do it now, right? Regardless. So first steps is today you can start digitally. There's no investments, nothing. But again, the product.
And the great part about D2C is the incremental business.
Incremental
you can spend 5,000 today, 10,000 tomorrow, 20,000 the day after and grow it as you go along.
Would you say there are enough manufacturers now that can manufacture product, right?
Absolutely.
From the healthcare side?
In most spaces, in health and wellness, in personal care, in apparel.
So discover them. So it's a go. Did you meet a lot of them?
I used to do manufacturing myself.
Yes. So, but would you say meet people in
Absolutely.
The manufacturer side? How do you validate them?
I was fortunate to have manufacturing in-house. But validating them, find a person who is making a good quality product. But don't find a person who's so big they don't care about your business. Find a genuine partner.
Okay. Your thoughts on health tech, retail tech? Retail to D2C, I mean, people who are doing a blend of D2C.
I think everything's going to be omnichannel, right?
Yeah.
So I'm checking into an airport, but my facial recognition is happening and my Aadhaar is on DigiLocker, but I still have a physical bag with me that I'm carrying on the plane, right? So it's a beautiful mix of physical and offline. I was visiting a badminton club in Bangalore. The membership is paid for online and you enter the club through facial recognition, but you still play badminton physically, right? So we're in this interesting phase of omnichannel. And I think all the people who understand that there is a blend of physical and digital, or phygital as they call it, are the ones that will win going.
I think India did a very good thing with the finance, right? Fintech, the UPI.
India stack.
The UPI,
DigiYatra, DigiLocker, ABHA, Aadhaar. It's amazing.
That's what's changed.
I can get from my car to my gate in an airport today at T1 in Bombay, at least within 10 minutes.
You know, when the cops pull me over, whenever I'm late, I do miss signals and they stop. I do pull out the DigiLocker to show them my Aadhaar and driving licenses are available easily. You don't have to carry anything physical.
You don't have to carry anything.
Have you been to a bank of late? I haven't been to a bank in years.
The only time I go to a bank is locker. Which is once in 6 months or once.
I accompany my wife to the locker for sure. you know why, right? It's jewelry, right? And what else? I haven't been to a retail store in years, man. Actually, to think about it, I order everything online. I probably go for that one. I mean, maybe some Korean item if it's missing. I do go to a retail store, but interesting changes, transitions,
massive changes.
right? Would you say that it's India's game to lose if we don't do this right?
I think it's India's game to lose. It's like the World Cup final, which unfortunately we lost. But I think the whole world is looking at India. I think a lot of that excitement, money, capital flow that was going to China is coming to India now. The Apple factory will come to India. Apple will manufacture in India. We'll be given that one opportunity. If we mess it up, they're never coming back. So in everything going forward over the next 10, 15 years, it's our game to lose. It's our game to mess up. But if we mess it up, they're not coming back.
And don't even get me started there. You know, Narayan Murthy made this point that Indians have to work harder. They have to work 70 hours a week. That went a U-turn. But do you think what's necessary? What is hard work for you?
Look, I think everyone figures out their own way to get it done.
Yeah.
I am in the bucket of hard work because I'm not a smart worker. I'm not able to complete my work in 8 hours. There are friends of mine, people around me who are able to do it. Do what works for you is my view. There are hard workers and smart workers. I'm the hard worker bucket. But there are a lot of people who are smart workers and they can get their way around.
Are you guys saying practice beats talent kind of thing? Is that what India should do?
No, I'm not saying practice beats talent. I think for me, practice beats talent. But there are people, but I'm not talented.
Yeah, but
I'm not so talented.
There's super talented people.
I'm not Yuvraj Singh.
Yeah. Of the D2C world.
Yeah.
You know, if you look at it, but you've done well for yourself. You know, I have a lot of respect for, for me, the D2C community is you, Manish of Wow, Aman of Boat, and then obviously Chaitanya of Wake. But I have a lot of respect for what you guys have done. And for us, a quick tidbit, I mean, you said you're not talented, but I think you're super talented. How do you manage time between obviously doing a podcast today, going to a meeting another half an hour, exercising? How do you set your time?
I did my Surya Namaskars before
I
came here.
How do you have somebody managing the schedule for you?
No, I think I'm very strict about certain things. I manage my schedule myself, but I'm very strict about, and I was talking to Nitish of Nazara yesterday, and he said, a fit body is a fit mind. So I'm very specific about now my workouts. I gave way a little bit while I was running my company, but I'm very specific about those things. I think those things keep you more engaged, more active. And look, I think the work I do is so engaging.
Yeah, it keeps minds fit all the time.
12 hours, 13 hours,
you
15
like
hours
it.
a day, I'm enjoying it.
Okay, final question. Books you're reading, things you get inspired by, art. It can be movies also.
Yeah, look, I'm inspired by sport, honestly. I think the discipline, determination, passion, and also the arena of sport, like where failure is public. I think there's lots for us to learn in terms of dealing with pressure, etc., from sports people. So I obsess with watching sport, playing sport, watching sports documentaries. But overall, I think I'm a documentary buff. I learn from the experiences of people. And so I'm watching every sports documentary, every history documentary that's there. Books I am reading right now. I'm rereading Purple Cow by Seth Godin. It's the best marketing book I've ever read in my life.
I'm going to check that out.
Yeah, it's the best marketing book.
But I've always seen Seth Godin on YouTube, but never read the book, so I'll check
Fantastic
it out.
Book.
Okay, that's great then, Arjun.
Thank you, Vishal.
All the best for V3.
My pleasure.
And what's V3, by the way, quickly?
V3 stands for World Invest Ventures. It's a fund I run.
It's also your name.
It's got my name. Vaidya, V for Vaidya as well. But yeah, look, I think we're an early stage consumer fund, investing seed to Series A. And excited to see the next leg of innovation in consumption and consumer revolutions in India.
So, guys, go to the V3 website and you can Google it and you can apply, right?
Absolutely.
There you go. Enjoy. Thank you.